Tadej Pogacar humiliates all his rivals once again and gets his 10th victory on 9 different mountains in Grand Tours during this year of 2024. In the process, paying tribute to his trainer Javier Sola for the great improvements he's given him to allow him to break doping records totally clean. Focus in Evenepoel and our beloved Danish anchovy have to settle for having tried different tactics against the immense power of a UAE Postal that pissed in the face of the rest of the rivals today. Richard Carapaz searches for the red points jersey and achieves his goal in another tribute to Andrea Piccolo. Subscribe to the channel for more cycling videos and also to our Failed Sharks soccer channel if you want to hear some more great doping stories. And now, let the show begin. Finally, it had arrived, the most special stage of this Tour de France. Only 144 kilometers, but with 3 giants along the way. The Col du Var at 19 kilometers at almost 6% average gradient, topping out at more than 2,100 meters of altitude. There was the summit of the Tour de France, the Col de la Bonnette, with the incredible figure of more than 2,800 meters of altitude, and this after 22 kilometers of ascent at 7% average gradient. A summit where the South African Jean-Louis Augustin didn't feel too good, back in the days when the Briton had yet to discover the marginal gains potion of magic. And it finished with the legendary Isola 2000, a pass that has only been climbed once before in the history of the Tour de France. But ladies and gentlemen, what an occasion! We're talking about the presentation to society of a great climber who had been practically a nobody during his entire career. It is, of course, our friend of the channel, the most sensual doped bald eagle in Denmark. Of course, before this stage, we all knew that the record of the doped Rominger and Enevet Indurain was going to be pulverized, and as it happened in the Giro d'Italia on that day at Livigno, today was going to be the day that our dear Slovenian alien Poggi had marked on the calendar to make his best performance in the Tour. As if it were not already enough to have shattered by minutes the records of low-cost Lance and friend of the snow Pantani back in the Pyrenean stages. Why did Poggi choose Isola 2000 as the place to isolate his rivals and cement a win in a historic way? Very easy, actually. It's the place where his new miracle trainer, Javier Sola, the same one who until 3 years ago had been confined to training mysteriously retired youngsters and oldies in Portuguese teams, well, this was where he'd taken his legendary techniques and applied them to Poggi, pushing him to another level, increasing his maximum oxygen capacity and his fatigue resistance and heat resistance, and boosting his power in pedaling. The place where our alien reached the nirvana of his physical preparation in order to be able to fry Danish anchovies on the grill at will in this tour. And therefore, as a tribute to his own effort, and to that of his poor grandfather, who died during that preparation, may he rest in peace, and to that of his beloved Javier Sola, Poggi wanted to take out his slimy radioactive green member and rub it in the face of all his rivals. As someone who told us a little more about how doping is treated in Spain, at least until your favourite Uncle Cycling highlights have arrived on the scene, was the mythical Dr. Eufemiano Fuentes, who was caught on hidden camera by German journalist Hajo Seppelt, claiming that all of Spain's successes at the 1992 Barcelona Olympics, a golden year for Enevet Indurain also, well, they were thanks to his druidic labours, urged on by the government of the Snake Gonzalez. Since the most important thing was to win medals and not to test positive in any of those pesky anti-doping controls. A task that Ufe fulfilled, achieving marvels and miracles and the best result for the Mediterranean country in the Olympics. It even stands today. The doping paradise, where all our cycling stars train too. Oh well, now let's get on to that stage report. We start with some very interesting moves from the Rabobank team, who had hidden the anchovy during the previous day, officially because of the heat and because he'd had a bad time, but we all know that really he just needed some special massage. In the first attacks, they placed some interesting gregarios, such as the Gregario of Gregarios, Matteo Jorgenson, or Falls Kelderman, the 2 best climbers in that Dutch team. Behind, it wasn't Saunier Duval, but rather the doped hipsters team, pushing his riders to work and trying to put Richard Carapaz in the breakaway, which they managed to do just kilometres before the Col du Var, while the former doper Simon Yates stuck to the Ecuadorian's wheels as if he were back on the Col du Noyer. The goal was clear, to score points for the red polka dot jersey, and Carapaz worked very well on the Var with the Rabobank and the former doper Yates and Christian Rodriguez of the Breton team and former Giro winner Jai Hindley. Together, they reached a lead of more than 4 minutes, which was maintained exclusively for more than 50 kilometres by the new Van Hooijdonk of the peloton, Niels Politz, the trotter-turned-climber, all thanks to Javier Sola's treatments, and he was able to blow away climbers like Felix Gall on the Bonnet, a man who won stages in the Tour last year, but this year, with a weakened Van Rijssel, he was left behind 70 kilometres from the finish line. The gap of the escapees didn't increase, while Carapaz crowned the Bonnet, and Poggi stayed in a reduced group of 4 of his gregarios, from the brother of the doper Yates to Calippo Soler, and the man without a nationality Sivakov, and the always hard-working Almeida. It was textbook UAE Postal, with Politz in the role of Frankie Andreu, destroying the peloton, while the anchovy, despite the good tactics implemented, had to be content to follow the wheel of Saunier Duval. There were no cojones on display, out of fear. Fear of Poggi and fear of the designs of Mo, who predicted that his Slovenian rider would attack on the Bonnet to further humiliate the race number 1. Of course, the 1993 ascent record would be smashed, with these clean riders beating those dirty EPO-filled dopers by 4 minutes. At the start of the Col de la Bonnet, with a 4-minute lead and seeing that there were no hot fish-smelling moves behind, the Gregario of Gregario attacked with 11 kilometres to go in search of a stage win. And while behind it was the twin brother of the former doper Yates, who went on to work and destroy the rest of the top 10 climbers, men like Carlos Rodriguez, Santiago Buitrago, or the hilarious Derek G, all done in purest Kevin Livingston style. Oh, this Poggi of 2024 is resembling the Lance of 2000 more and more. With 9 kilometres to go, without even getting out of the saddle, it was time for the yellow jersey to do his thing. With his aura of plutonium all around, he attacked and left behind Focusing Evenepoel and a sad anchovy who saw how he was going to lose not only the opportunity to get a stage win, but also the opportunity for his fellow Gregario of Gregarios to get a victory. 2 minutes and 35 seconds, that's what Poggi had to cut down. Nothing for a guy whose bike is faster thanks to the magical power of the new tyres, and that special diet based on bread, and the song Till I Collapse by Eminem that was no doubt resonating through his earpiece, giving him all the necessary energy that no drug could ever match. In 2 kilometres, he was already more than a minute and a half ahead of Focusing and the anchovy, and less than a minute behind Lance's friend, Jorgenson. Nothing could be done, except pray that no more aliens arrived on Earth. Behind, with 6 kilometres to go, it was the Belgian with the TUE who decided to test the Dane. Always test those red-dotted Danes. But he stuck like a limpet as best he could, and the world number 1 was still glued to the former world champion. With 2 kilometres to go, Poggi caught up with Jorgenson and took the Renaissance letters off the Rabobank jersey, accelerating the pace even more, one more humiliation, wanting to return the I'm gone, I'm dead back to Rabobank with interest. Something that didn't happen, but still, he made it clear that his pace is the best in the world peloton. Straight on for his 4th stage win on 4 high mountain stages, straight on to a new record at the top, a record 4 minutes better than the one by the rider doped by Michele Ferrari, Swiss Tony, in 1993, oh Rominger. Straight on to the sky like Drew Barrymore's little brother, led by the guy who collaborated in the death of 2 Vietnamese miners in the Twilight Zone. It was another solo triumph, waving his fingers and counting the victories, just as he'd done in the Giro 2 months earlier, and bowing to his fans for all the support they'd given him, support that will always outweigh the meagre advantage of inhaling carbon monoxide. The time differences were not insane because Poggi didn't have to do anything more than simply keep riding. He'd left behind his 2 rivals in La Grande Boucle, who came in hand 1 minute and 42 seconds behind the winner. Everyone is resigned because there is no chance of victory. Only the minor prizes are up for grabs for people like Richard Carapaz. A prize to see the beautiful Urska at the finish, smiling at the defeat of the others. The only option is to eat humble pie, and if not humble pie, then to swallow some lumpy green slime from the veins of the alien who has won the Tour de France 2024, and deservedly so, total deservedness. He's already more than 14 minutes ahead of the fourth classified rider, and that's a simple gregario of his. There's little more to say, except that Poggy has insisted that he will give tomorrow's stage to the breakaway. How generous! Just like Lance when he gave it to La Seca or Virenque. Now, while you're here, check out that video on the screen, that one. Yes, you are bound to love it.